550,000 doses of malaria vaccines.
To fight against malaria, which is one of the main killers of children, as we all know. And the arrival of these vaccines here behind us, these are more than 550,000 doses of a value of around $5.5 million.
World Bank approves $65 million grants to support the government of Sierra Leone. Child Fund reveals over 70% of children living with cocoa farmers suffer child labor.
Over 70% of children who are living with cocoa farmers are engaged in some form of work in the cocoa farm.
Now for the full news.
Well, in our first story for tonight, the Commissioner of the National Commission for Social Action, NACSA, Ambassador Ernest Bemba Ndomaini, has, on behalf of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio, pledged to the global support for refugees to effectively and efficiently address the numerous challenges faced by refugees across the world at the ongoing Second Global Refugee Forum 2023 at the Palexpo complex in Geneva. Now let's take the highlight.
The delegation appreciates the High Commissioner for convening this important session, bringing together stakeholders and to remind the global community of our collective responsibility to maintain the safety and integrity of people living among us as refugees. Our world today is becoming less safe because of conflicts and instabilities coupled with the threats we face from private crises. These and many other societal factors are pushing people, families, and whole communities out of their homes, and more often now than ever before. The question remains, how do we as individual states react to these unfortunate trends? Sierra Leone's transition from itself being a refugee-source country with over half of its population living for other countries between 1991 and 2000, to become a host country for refugees. This was made possible not only by peace that Sierra Leone enjoys, but also the enabling environment created by the political will of the government of Sierra Leone. With the support of our bilateral partners and international organizations, we hosted a total of 60,000 refugees from the conflict in the sub-region and successfully processed their return home with startup kits assistance or seamless integration into our community as contributors to national development. Through the National Commission for Social Action, NACSA, Sierra Leone collaboration with the UNHCR, the ECOWAS Commission, and other international organizations successfully implemented the physical and legal reforms for the protection of refugees and asylum seekers. The ongoing Tenki Salon project aims to compensate refugee host countries with social, economic, and infrastructure development. NACSA continues to promote the efforts of the government of deregulation of status of all persons of nationalities other than Sierra Leoneans. To this end, we pledge to implement the adopted National Action Plan on statelessness to ensure that by 2026, 80% of persons identified at risk of becoming stateless persons are regularized. 2, foster increased access to social rights through access to documentation and inclusion into the productive social safety net and youth employment project to at least 1,500 persons by 2026. 3, would mobilize millions of dollars to implement 93 social economic infrastructure projects identified in 19 refugee host communities for the full implementation of 10 key Salon project by 2024-2026 to foster the sustainable inclusion of refugees in host communities in southeastern and northwestern regions. 4, secure sustainable access to land in order to reinforce social inclusion for 3,500 forcibly displaced in protracted situation by 2025-2026. In conclusion, Mr. High Commissioner, Sierra Leone therefore calls on the UNHCR, ECOWAS, and other international organizations to support the government of Sierra Leone to access funds from other donor agencies in order to ensure the full implementation of the 10 key Salon project and other pledges tendered for a sustainable phase-out of the remaining caseload of refugees with an effective and efficient roadmap to compensate the host community-based program, which is part of the 5 game changers of His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio immediate priorities. I thank you.
Now, upscaling the fight against malaria, Sierra Leone has received the first batch of 550,000 doses of malaria vaccines. The World Bank Organization has recommended RTS malaria vaccines were procured by UNICEF with support of GAVA as part of the broader vaccination campaign against the deadly malaria disease. According to the Minister of Health, Dr. Austin Demby, it is a new weapon to curb malaria in the country. Ronald Jomovia has more on the story.
The arrival of the 550,000 doses of the world's first World Health Organization recommended malaria vaccines has placed Sierra Leone among the few countries to have received it as a game changer for malaria control efforts. The vaccines procured by UNICEF is a step towards broader vaccination against one of the deadliest diseases for African children. Sierra Leone is among countries like Burkina Faso, Liberia, and Niger to benefit from the 1.7 million doses of the RTS vaccine.
To fight against malaria, which is one of the main killers of children, as we all know. And the arrival of these vaccines here behind us, these are more than 550,000 doses of a value of around $5.5 million. It builds upon the groundbreaking work of the Malaria Vaccine Implementation Program. And that was started in 2019 in 3 countries in Africa, actually, Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi. And I came from Malawi to Sierra Leone, and I'm very happy that the work we have done there with the ministry, with WHO, and with other partners has shown that with these vaccines, child mortality can be reduced. And we have globally learned from that experience, and we can now apply it here. We can save lives of children here.
Receiving the vaccines, Minister of Health Dr. Austin Demby notes it's a new weapon that will enhance Sierra Leone's efforts to fighting malaria. He furthered it's an additional weapon to the mosquito net, environmental sanitation, among others, deployed by Sierra Leone in reducing the disease burden.
The new weapon we have in our arsenal is the vaccine. Oh, now that we have this vaccine, when you add it up to the deadness, when you add it on to the treatment, when you add it on to the environmental sanitation, when you add it on to the indoor residual spray, we have the complete recipe to fight malaria. We have made tremendous gains in reducing maternal mortality in this country. But guess what? If we remove malaria from that formula, we'll make even more significant gains.
Sierra Leone is among countries in the world with high burden of malaria, accounting for over 2 million hospital visits per year, of which children under 5 years of age account for 1 million of these cases. The administration of this vaccine will not only help in prevention, but also reduce the 25% mortality of the disease. Ronald Joe Morovia, AYV News, Freetown.
Now, World Bank has approved a $65 million grant to support the government of Sierra Leone in addressing critical developmental challenges. The approval of the grant by the bank's Board of Executive Directors for the third Inclusive and Sustainable Growth Development Policy financing is directed to supporting reforms related to macroeconomic stability, mining sector governance, land management practices, gender equality, and accountability of the public sector. Joseph Johnson reports.
The approval of the $65 million grant by the World Bank Board of Executive Directors is part of the third Inclusive and Sustainable Growth Development Policy financing that builds on programmatic reform plan to support sustainable, robust, and inclusive growth in the country. According to the World Bank Country Manager for Sierra Leone, Abdul Moungi, Sierra Leone's capability to eradicate extreme poverty and boost shared prosperity on a livable planet rests on a sustained macroeconomic stability, robust growth, and a solid enabling environment for leveraging its abundant natural resources. He continues to note that the financing supports reforms that will help address poor governance of the mining and land sectors, enhance inclusion in access to employment and education, and contribute to reducing physical and debt vulnerabilities. The World Bank pinpoints that the country's sustainable and inclusive growth has been constrained by exposure to multidimensional exogenous shocks, economic epidemic, climatic, pervasive governance weaknesses, and limited physical space and physical risk, which inhibits the ability to promote pro-poor growth through public investment. The World Bank senior economist and task team leader Simriti Seth reaffirms the bank's willingness to continue to support the government's commitment to tackle crucial structural reforms in promoting inclusive growth. The DPF addresses weaknesses in land management, mining sector and public sector governance while also strengthening climate adaptation and resilience. The program, according to the bank, builds on the strong foundation established by the two earlier operations in the series, which initiated landmark legislative reforms, including promoting decentralized and inclusive land management, strengthening governance and licensing practices in the mining sector, and promoting gender inclusivity in education and employment. Joseph Johnson, AYV News, Freetown.
Now, the Child Protection and Advocacy Manager for Child Fund, Sierra Leone, Auna Lahai, has revealed that over 70% of children living with cocoa farmers suffer the problem of child labor and sometimes preventing them from going to school. He revealed this during the impact assessment of the 3-year integrated community-based approach to combating child labor projects implemented in Kailaun, Kenema, and Kono, which ends by the 31st December this year. Salifucherino Kamara reports.
The problem of child labor is evident in many parts of Sierra Leone. In the past 3 years, Child Fund and Trading Organic, through Domake, a local partner, undertook the responsibility of implementing the integrated community-based approach to combating child labor project in 57 communities within 9 chiefdoms in Kailaun, Kenema, and Kono districts. The project, which started on January 1st, 2021 and ends on December 31st, focused on empowering communities to safeguard the well-being of boys and girls, shielding them against the scourge of child labor. The goal was to create a comprehensive network of protection against child labor practices.
It actually was designed as a result of the baseline study that was conducted by Trading Organic, that is sourcing cocoa in the eastern part of the country in Kenema, Kono, and Kailaun district. So because they want to promote fair trade and they also want to ensure that they do not buy from farmers that are engaged in child labor activities, so they decided to conduct a baseline. And the baseline study actually pointed out that indeed over 70% of children who are living with cocoa farmers are engaged in some form of work in the cocoa farm, sometimes preventing them from going to school, especially when school is in session. So this baseline report was actually shared with some other child protection focused organizations, and we expressed our interest in working with Trading so that we will help them to actually sensitize the communities in minimizing the prevalence of child labor, especially with respect to cocoa production. Before now, we used to see how communities used to lag behind when it comes to taking the lead in protecting children, but now we have seen through the different engagements with the community structures, with the community members at large, we have now seen that indeed they too have seen that the need is actually good for them to take the lead in protecting children.
The initiative aimed not only to remove children from hazardous labor, but also to ensure their parents are economically viable to improve the lives of children through the Village Savings and Loans Association across the 57 communities.
Thank God where this box come. For now, we can trust. Even like me, I'm more glad. The first year we can that 2021. Now the year me what about sit the care. So where the sit and out of day, I get money. Even for bros, we guarding them for now. That out of day we take money, we pay people there. The bros will guard it. Now even this child labor, that make it don't minimize.
We will still continue for make the program let go before, because I now can't teach you no more. Say you can't do this. We person turning back there, you forget butter. We will continue with the picking them for sensitize them, because the picking now will feature them tomorrow.
Some family had them in the where this CWC where they come from, then I send them picking and go school. And we shall be the just they watch them no more say if not or nothing. But through that training, that CWC, we put ambience on family there for take the picking in our school. Right now as they talk on then at that school. Even some surrounding villages, then they come, they really admire this program. So me don't plead no more, they recommend that una go, una tell them, so tell them, but thank you, what thing they do now with life. But this still no allow die down. The car will continue so, una extend another other villages then.
A key aspect of this project involved collaboration with the Ministry of Gender and Children's Affairs to implement strategies and structures that will increase protection of children.
This project has really yielded a lot of successes, like I can say, because now, then within this project time frame, the community people have able to report on issue of child labor and other child protection issues. Of course, the project also targeted the VSLA, that's the Village Service and Loan Association, at community level. Because if we are trying to minimize child labor at community level, mitigate child labor at community level, yeah, you have to put other system in place that can help these parents or neither the community people.
Through a multifaceted approach, the project has brought about transformative changes in these communities. Education and awareness programs have been pivotal in changing mindsets of parents and caregivers and fostering a protective environment for children. Salifu Nakamura, AYV News.
Now, the University of Sierra Leone Court, in a press release, has said that new conditions of services 2023-2024 for Union of Academic Staff Association has been approved by the court and forwarded to the Tertiary Education Commission for onwards transmission to the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education as required. Now, this comes following a 21-day joint withholding services notice by the association. Edema Conte files in this report.
In a press release dated 5th December 2023, the University of Sierra Leone Court notes that they've approved the University Administration's recommendation for the institution to effect a 10% increase in the payment of housing allowance to supplement the 5% being paid by government, thereby rounding it up to 15% in line with what is provided for the proposed 2022-2024 conditions of service with effect from February 2024. This, according to the court, is part of the demands made by the Union of Academic Staff Association, the full implementation of the 2022-2024 conditions of service for academic and senior administrative staff of public and tertiary institutions. According to the courts, they've also approved the administration's recommendation for the university to make an additional payment of 187 new leones to the current 63 new leones per month, thereby raising the allowance to 250 new leones per month, effective February 2024. The University of Sierra Leone Court approved the recommendation for the old criteria for promotion of academic staff to be used for the current year. The demand of 58% salary adjustment was noted by court, and the administration was advised to raise the concern with the Ministry of Technical and Higher Education and the Ministry of Finance for their consideration and decision, as government is paying that portion of the salaries. Meanwhile, the Union of Academic Staff Association also in a press release said that no clear solutions were reached on their demands by the University Court, citing that at the end of February 2024, they will not give any further notice for industrial action if the issues mentioned are not addressed within the stipulated period. However, AYV will continue to monitor proceedings to see how things unfold. Edema Conte, AYV News, Freetown.
The Chief Executive Officer of the National Consumer Protection Commission, Lawrence Bassi, has charged staff of the commission to ensure they have a mindset of professionalism and integrity that will enable them to do their duties swiftly. The CEO was speaking during an induction and training of its staff. Here's the story compiled by Mohamed Lamin Bania and read in the studio by Elizabeth Momo.
Established by an Act of Parliament since 2020, the National Consumer Protection Commission has its responsibility to monitor the consumer market and seek their interest through appropriate recommendations to the Trade Ministry for improvements of service delivery for customers. However, challenges, most especially integrity to do effective monitoring and hold people accountable, has been the main ordeals. Thus, one thing informing the training.
We want all of them to have a mindset that in fact they have to be professional, there has to be integrity and fearlessness to make sure that they are able to deliver on the provisions of the law. That's why we have inducted them and they are going through this training today and tomorrow, that's 14-15 December, to make sure they are equipped with the relevant skills that will enable them to deliver on their job responsibilities effectively.
Like other agencies, the National Consumer Protection Commission is one among the deliverables of the Trade Ministry. Gaps between business owners and customers, and more importantly, impersonators that extort money from business owners, which resulted in the guiding principles of consumer protection. Director of Standards and Compliance at the Trade Ministry, Nyanguya Masako, says are all factors for the establishment of the Commission.
But with the establishment of the NCPC and the robusting I'm seeing here today, I am positive that a turnaround from non-compliance to compliance and the enhancement of the safety of consumers and the marketing of safe and quality products in the country, which is an integral part of President Leone's commitment to ensure that the rights of citizens are protected.
Maintaining integrity was the center of the discussion throughout the session. Will it just be a mere talk, or can the trainees put it in practice for the betterment of the country? Still lies a big question. Elizabeth Momo, AYV News, Freetown.
This is Primetime News on AYV Television and Radio. Stay tuned for more stories after the break.
Let your heart fill with joy as you cheer for your team to win. Believe in yourself and your dreams, knowing that victory is within reach. It's your time to shine. So go ahead and be the star, because nothing can hold you back. Face Genius Bet. You're a genius.
Welcome back. I am Mayan Amaya Bango and this is AYV's Primetime News. Let's take more stories. Sierra Leone Alcohol Policy Alliance and partners have launched a campaign to ban the herbal drink called Papa Drink It, Mama Happy. Deputy Whip of the Opposition and Chair for the Parliamentary Committee on Gender and Children's Affairs, Honorable Catherine Zainab Tarawali, says the name of the drink is not gender-friendly. Our reporter Yero Jalo files in this report.
Recently, there has been an urgent call for health authorities and regulators to conduct a proper medical check on the contents of some new herbal products in the country. The use of bitter roots in the likes of Coco Samba, Ole Coco, Giacomo, and Oga Abeg Edondu, amongst others, believes to have harmful effects in the lives of Sierra Leoneans. Sierra Leone Alcohol Policy Alliance is among others that has launched a a campaign to ban Papa Drink It, Mama Happy bitter root drink because they believe the drink is gender stereotypic. The head of Secretariat, Sierra Leone Alcohol Policy Alliance, Boy Jene Jallo, explains more.
I feel excited that many voices, not only women, men, policymakers, advocates, have added their voice to the campaign. Each and every one of them have expressed their willingness to sign. In fact, all of those who are present for the launch today have signed the petition, and they've also shared their commitment to popularize the campaign and to also engage other people within their families and organizations to sign up to the campaign.
Honorable Catherine Zainab Tarawali, Deputy Whip of Opposition and Chair for the Parliamentary Committee on Gender and Children's Affairs, lauds the campaign, citing negative impacts of such a product.
It's a very good campaign. You cannot say the father has to be a drunkard before the mother is happy. So if the father is a drunkard, tell me the repercussion and tell me what the kids are. And it will not send a very good signal. The home would be in a hazard situation. And I normally ask my colleagues, what's the meaning of this Papa Drink, Mama Happy? They said the father has to be a drunkard because it's significant. It's a gender stereotype. It is not gender friendly. And as a gender person and as a gender chair, I normally say this is not good. So if alcohol content is seriously high and it is killing people, it is seriously killing people. You will see 40% of alcohol in a small sachet, but it's above the number. So on that base, we are asking that they stop the production of that particular alcohol for the benefit of every cell union.
This is among many other gender-based violence issues in the country that efforts are being made to curb. Yero Jallo, AYV News.
Now, through the Public Accountability and Community Engagement Project, with support from Irish Civil Society Stream in partnership with Christian Aid, financed by Irish Aid, Budget Advocacy Network has presented the 2021 Auditor General's report to the Kailaon District Council. Though the report recorded an unqualified audit, it also captured key issues that needed to be addressed by the Council's administration. Yusufu Gamangabu has more in our reports.
Section 119 of the 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone gives the Auditor General the mandate to audit how public funds are utilized. Equally, the Audit Service Act 2014 and the Financial Management Act 2016 also provide the legal framework for the Auditor General to do its work effectively. The year under review audits present a satisfactory audit of the Kailaon District Council as presented in the form of a cartoon. The audit is done in order to hold the Council accountable for the implementation of the audit's recommendation, though the report was unqualified but cannot be devoid from few queries.
The Kailaon District Council is not liable for any penalty for defaulting on processes and procedures that are laid for audit compliance. However, there are queries around certain things. For instance, NACITS was deducted but was not paid to the CRF. And then the council responded by saying they inherited this problem from the previous two councils, but however, they are working hard so that it will not recur in the next audit report.
Issues always rise in audits are meant to be settled or addressed in subsequent audits. Kailaon is not an exception of recent audits. Each IEC officer in his statement responds to the issues raised in the report.
Of course, from the report, the NACIT issue is something that has started way back in 2007, and governance, of course, is continuity. NACIT has engaged with us, and we've got a common understanding, and we have reached a particular point where the money we owe NACIT for our support staff will be paid.
The chairman, Internal Audit Committee, charged with the responsibility to address internal audit issues at the Kailaon District Council, speaks on the report findings.
Council have done extremely well, but some of the challenges were people paying their money were not of faith with what the council is doing the money. So there was a communication gap. There was also a meeting gap, because when you are meeting with the people, you are working with them, and they are also monitoring what you are doing. They will also tell you that we have been to that place. This and this and this were the things that we observed.
Getting an unqualified result from audits means your management of finance and other resources are better off, but not devoid of other recommendations relating to finding. Yusufu Gamaga Abu, AYV News, Kenema, Eastern Sierra Leone.
As a way to capacitate monitoring and evaluation officers for effective monitoring of public projects in the country, National Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate through World Bank has trained these participants on data management. Were distributed to them as part of the training package. Abasise now reports.
National Monitoring and Evaluation Directorate, abbreviated as NAMED, was created with the mandate for an effective national institutional policy framework to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the medium-term national development plan and other government and donor-funded projects. The Directorate is currently training M&E officers of respective councils and others on effective monitoring of government and donor-funded projects across the country. Dr. James Edwin is Director General of this Directorate.
There are a lot of projects that are being funded by government and our partners, donors around this world. Year in, year out, you see projects being funded, but you don't see implementation done properly. For example, you hear about a lot of schools being funded, hospitals, clinics, water wells, you name them. But when you go around to see if these projects do exist, yeah, sometimes they do. And sometimes too, they do not. But the monies are spent. Nobody knows where those monies are. Facilities. So what we want to do is to see that whatever cent is spent by government and donors should reach the last mile, should reach the last person that should benefit from it.
Among those present in the training include paramount chiefs and local council representatives across the board. Dr. P.C. Madibi Masakma from Tonkole District and Vivian Saleh Senesi of Bombari District Council were part of this training.
I'm really impressed with the idea of government, including especially key stakeholders in the district or the chiefdom to monitor these projects. Because we are the owners of these projects. No other person can like our chiefdoms, our district more than ourselves. If somebody is transferred from Freetown to come and monitor what is happening here, the person might be highly professional, But I think those of us that are here might be more of faith of what is happening here. So for me, I'm impressed with this initiative.
That is to say, in everything what they do, health, education, agriculture, they want to give data. And if they provide data and we don't have the tools for providing data, then we're not going to get the results. But we are happy that this project will come and school institution, NAMED, where UNASEF don't see say it is but fitting that the staff them are capacitated.
Laptop computers, tablets, and other electronic gadgets were supplied to respective M&E officers for effective service delivery. Abasise, AYV News, McKinney.
Now for the latest in sports, let's join Ansford McLean for more update.